Imagine being personally requested by name to perform at a wedding. And while you are there, singing and entertaining the guests, you suddenly realize this wedding isn't for humans. Welcome guys to my channel. I'm Miss Kauthar, and today's story takes us back in Kuwait in the late 1990s, starring a popular local wedding singer named Noura. She was admired for her powerful voice and captivating stage presence. She had a special way of turning any wedding into a lively, joyful celebration. Her energy, smile, and connection with the audience made every moment unforgettable. People even say that any wedding Noura performs at is considered a perfect celebration. One day, reportedly on Friday, Noura got a phone call from a woman who claimed to be the bride's mother. She asked Noura to come and perform at her daughter's wedding. When Noura asked about the date, she was shocked. It was happening that very day. Noura tried to explain that it was her day off and the band was off too. But the woman wouldn't take no for an answer. She kept insisting and repeating her request over and over, even going as far as offering Noura double her usual fee. Noura couldn't say no. After a moment of hesitating, she finally agreed. She started packing up her equipment, calling the bands, and get ready to head to the venue. The wedding ceremony was going to take place at house in the Sabahia area, about 13 kilometers away from Noura's house. When Noura and the girls arrived, they couldn't help but stare. The house looked absolutely stunning from the outside, with its grand size and sparkling lights. But the real jaw drop was inside. The house was absolutely luxurious, with the beautiful decorated walls and tables overflowing with every kind of food you could imagine. As they were looking around, they saw a tall woman covering her face with the black veil approach them. She greeted them and introduced herself as the bride's mother. One of the band members, a girl named Shams, moved closer to Noura and whispered in her ear, I'm feeling scared. I have a bad feelings about today. Noura has the same feelings, but she didn't want it to show it to Shams. She tried to calm her and reminding her it's just a few hours and after that we will be leaving. Then the band moved to their spots and began setting up their music equipment. After that, Noura grabbed the mic, took a deep breath, and let her voice fill the room.
وانا دومي هيطني لعب قايد الغزلان وانا دومي هيطني لعب
The people began to dance excitedly and in sync with the rhythm. Meanwhile, the bride and the groom entered. But what caught Noura's attention was how strange their outfits looked. The groom was dressed in Ottoman style clothing, and the bride wore a black dress with the white polka dots, said to be encrusted with the gemstones. Even their faces were pale and completely expressionless. They didn't turn their heads to the left or to the right. They walked straight to the stage, sit down in complete silence. While she was singing, Noura noticed that the guests who were dancing started moving in a very strange, chaotic way. Their movements were completely out of the rhythm. They were so energetic, dancing wildly and uncontrollably, that their dresses began to lift slightly, revealing their legs. Their legs weren't human at all. They were God's legs. After seeing that horrifying sight, Noura started feeling dizzy and exhausted. She decided to take a short break to rest, and telling herself that it was probably just exhaustion, that what she saw couldn't have been real. So she stopped singing and headed inside the house to rest. On her way there, she came across a stairs leading to the upper floor. She thought maybe if I go upstairs it will be more quieter. So she climbed the stairs hoping to get some peace and rest there. The moment Noura reached the upper floor, she felt that something wasn't right. The place looked completely different. The walls were cracked, the paint was peeling, and the furniture was broken and covered in dust. The air was cold, carrying that musty smell of a place that had been abandoned for years. Noura was confused, walking slowly as she was trying to understand how the same place could have a floor like this above it. As she looked around, she noticed a door slightly open at the end of the hallway. She walked toward it quietly and stepped inside. The room was shabby with dust covering every corner. But there was a small bed off to the side, and without a second thought, exhausted Noura lay down on it and closed her eyes. During her short nap, Noura had a terrifying dream. A woman was running toward her screaming. She jolted awake, her heart pounding, and quickly got up from the bed to head downstairs. As she walked through the dim corridor, a child suddenly appeared in front of her. The moment he saw Noura, he ran off into one of the rooms. And here we learn a lesson. If someone runs away from you, you run the other way. Never follow. That's a trap. Out of curiosity, she ran after him, and when she reached the door, it was tightly shut. Feeling uneasy, Nora turned around and continued towards the stairs. But as she stepped going down, something grabbed her leg. She froze in place, unable to move. A cold whisper brushing against her ear, saying, "Sing, sing, I love your voice." Somehow, Nora managed to free herself and make her way back downstairs to her band. When she got there, she found the girls gathering around one of the members who had fainted. As Nora got closer, she realized it was Shams. The girls were trying to wake her up, and as soon as Shams opened her eyes, she turned to Noura and said, "We need to leave this place now." Noura asked, "What happened? And what did you see?" Shams said, "I come to call you so we could finish the last part, but the girls said they saw you going upstairs, so I went up, and I was completely shocked. The upper floor looked terrifying. I kept looking around in confusion, and then suddenly a tall man appeared in front of me. I felt this strong force pulling me towards him like a magnet until I found myself standing right before him. He stared into my eyes, then brought his face close to mine. There was a terribly foul smell coming from him. Then he slapped me hard across the face, and after that, I don't remember anything. Noura tried to calm Shams down and told her, "Believe me, what happened to me was even worse than what you saw. They talked to me, but we have to keep performing until dawn so they won't harm us." Can you imagine, guys? The terrifying part is that Noura and the band knew they were surrounded by Jinn. Yet those figures were still outside, waiting for them to come back and continue singing. They didn't disappear like in the horror movies where the ghosts vanish the moment you saw them or you know about them. You know what I mean? They went outside and started performing again. Then suddenly they noticed the number of the dancers in front of them kept growing and growing, but Noura and the band were tripling, their voices shaking, stumbling over the layers in a way that felt deeply unsettling until they realized they were surrounding right in the middle. Those figures had completely surrounded them, dancing around them in a wildly, almost insane rhythm. And then the call for Fajr prayer began. The moment its sound echoed through the air, the lights went out completely, and the whole place was swallowed by absolute darkness. They threw everything were holding and ran straight toward the door. As soon as they stepped out of the house, they came across an old man who was passing by the house. He looked at them in confusion, shocked by the sight of their terrified faces as they rushed out of that house. He approached them and asked, "What were you all doing in there?" Noura tried to explain that they had come to perform at a wedding and so on, but the old man stared at her, almost questioning her sanity, and said, "A wedding? That house has been abandoned for years." When they turned around to look, they saw it. Behind them stood a decayed, crumbling house, clearly abandoned long ago. In these moments of fear and tension, they had only one thing in their minds: to return home safely. After that night, Noah quit singing completely. Of course, this story has many versions, but one thing is certain. Noura wasn't singing for humans. She was trapped in a wedding of jinn. In the end, if you enjoy the story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn that bell so you don't forget any of our new videos. Bye!